Welcome back to Manchester. 3 great quarterfinals already, and the semi-finals look like this so far. Greg Farron, the world champion, is through already. So too is Lee Kendall of England, as is Rob McKenna. Just one more place then to go. Nigel Davis of Wales taking on another former champion, Daz Ward of England. Let's go down to the floor now for the rest of the match, and it's Alan Hughes.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ladies and gentlemen, first into the arena we welcome a Welsh international, former world finalist with a rock-solid all-round game to beat the best. Ladies and gentlemen, into the arena, the number 6 seed from Worcester, Nigel Bagpuss Davis. And ladies and gentlemen, his opponent, a former world champion with an all-out attacking game that has made him so popular wherever he plays, and the former professional Masters champion is fancied by many to win a second world title. He comes from Sheffield. Will you welcome, please, the very talented 1995 Embassy world champion, Dazzling Daz Ward. Ladies and gentlemen, your timekeeper, Anton de Beer, and your referee is Mike Regan.
So this then, the last of our quarterfinals. It's Daz Ward from England versus Nigel Davis from Wales. Daz Ward, the tournament number 2 seed. Nigel Davis, number 6. A battle of seeds. The winner to go through to the semi-finals and face Rob McKenna. That's Nigel Davis just breaking off. Happy to see a ball find its way to a pocket. His break cue put back. He now starts to decide which color that he wants to attack. Well, I've just been reviewing the fact files on these two players out there for this quarterfinal, and they have one common denominator. Their toughest opponent, a man by the name of Keith Brewer. They both agree on that fact. And guess who I've got sat here beside me to oversee things today? Mr. Keith Brewer himself, the English captain, UK number 1. And Keith, you're both of these players' toughest opponent.
That's nice to know. I shall bear that in mind next time I play him, Jim. Good start from Nigel here. Straight into position. If I remember from last year, actually, when he played Greg in the quarter-final, he just went out all-out attacking, and I think that's what we'll be seeing from him today.
Both Nigel and Daz Ward have been to the finals of this prestigious event. Nigel Davis, a losing finalist in 1993. Daz Ward, the Embassy Whirlpool champion of 1995. Bit of a mistake there, Keith. A lax positional shot onto the last red.
Yeah, it was a bit loose, that. Just watching some of the other quarterfinals, Jim, it's been surprising how many players have run out of position when they're in prime position.
Yellow ball's playing.
I think the table is playing quite fast, and one or two of the players are struggling just to get the hang of it at the moment.
This positional play always a key to success in any billiard game. Right now, Daz with plenty of options.
Total snooker.
Keith, even though Nigel just has the one remaining red on the table, he's not the favorite, certainly not now. You can see the in-off again. Incoming player Daz Ward, 2 visits
Second visit.
Well, Daz, by his own admission, not playing all that well. He's been a little out of sorts. But if there's ever a time to find your A game, it's in the Embassy Championships. The only real awkward ball for Daz right now is the yellow near the right-hand middle. Looks like a very acute angle into that center pocket. And that's the one right there. You can see very little pocket showing itself for that ball. And no one more interested in the performance of Darren than his mother and father, Keith on the right there and Annis. They were telling me an interesting story where they sold a three-piece suite to make room for the pool table. Now that's dedication to your son's career.
Seconds.
Not in prime position, is he, Jim?
This doesn't look like the easiest finish in the world.
I think this is the feature of his game throughout the last couple of months, when he says he knows he hasn't been playing very well. It's just little things like this. He just hasn't been inch perfect all the time. That's right.
That's a bad miss from Daz. Again, just tried to borrow a little too much. And that might be his last visit in this opening frame. Almost certainly now. The simple 8-ball for Nigel Davis to open accounts here. It's a best of 17 quarterfinal, and it's the Welshman, the number 6 seed, taking the first frame. He leads Daz Ward by 1-0. But certainly this miss from Daz Ward proving to be as bad a miss as he could have hoped for. And Daz, if you don't improve your play, you might find the furniture back in the house.
Second frame. Daz Ward to break.
So breaking off now in frame 2. Daz.
Open table.
Just wanted to say there, Jim, it's a surprising feature. Have you noticed how many people are using break cues? When we come to the first World Championships about 5 years ago, nobody had one, and steadily and surely everyone is starting to use a break cue. Hence the importance of the break now under these world rules. Because obviously if you can pocket a ball on the break, you do have the choice of suit. And it is so important, people are using heavier cues.
And getting a ball off that break off always gives you a chance to nominate the suit that is best
That ball's in play.
available on the table, and that's a big advantage. And this time that advantage falls to Nigel Davis.
Just like the first frame, the Reds are in perfect position. It's just whether Nigel can keep the cue ball under control this time.
The only real difficult ball for Nigel right now is the red on the left-hand cushion.
That's right, Jim. It is the only difficult ball, but he will be leaving it to last. And the simple reason for that is he doesn't have to play it with any weight down the cushion. He'll have perfect position on the black ball. So he will be leaving it to his last shot, I'm pretty sure.
I can tell you, Keith, that after seeing the play here, these cushions are running pretty true. So it'll be down to a sure stroke from Nigel Davis. So here's the definitive shot then. Certain to finish on the black if he gets the red. Never in doubt. Nigel Davis, a dream start to this best of 17 quarterfinal. Down goes the black, and another hope of Daz Ward. Nigel Davis leading now 2-0 in this race to 9. And this was the shot. It never looked out. Good performance from Nigel Davis. Quick to pounce on the opportunity from the missed break by Daz Ward.
Third frame, Nigel Davis to break.
Nigel Davis breaking off now in the third frame. He's got out of the gate. That was the first and foremost. And now he wants to build on that lead.
Yellow ball footed.
Doesn't look to have a very good break this time, Jim. Got a couple of the reds and yellows bunched.
Yellow balls in play.
Particularly down near the bottom left-hand pocket. And with the yellow actually being over the pocket, has elected the yellows.
Red balls playing.
I would have thought, just looking at the table, because the yellow is over the bottom left, I'm just wondering if Daz is going to pot a red and try and get down the table and cover this bottom right hand pocket as we look. Because Nigel's only got one awkward yellow. Now, because Daz has actually failed to cover the pocket, I'm pretty sure we'll see Nigel bring that bad yellow into play.
Now, Keith, if this should turn into a tactical battle, which one of these two players would you favor? I know that Daz certainly likes to flow.
Yeah, to be honest, Jim, I mean, they both like to flow, but if it actually comes down to a tactical game, Daz has got vast experience. He's played in the England team for 5 years at world level, and he's a seasoned campaigner. He's seen it all and done it all, read the video and all that kind of stuff, you know, and he knows all the shots. I think the thing that he was trying to say earlier in the week is that he knows the shots, he just hasn't been playing them that well, and that is all the difference.
Well, that's one of the problems too. When you're not playing well, your confidence starts to ebb away and you don't think clearly. So sometimes it comes out in different areas. Shot selection very important in 8-ball pool.
Foul, 2 visits.
Good tactical shot from Nigel, really, because Daz had eventually covered the pocket, as I said earlier in the frame. But because Daz has only got the 3 reds left on, he's left the cue ball in such a way that he really can't do much from here. And that has to be said, Jim, that is a very, very poor shot. And I would say now that has virtually lost him the frame.
Yes, another look at it. Didn't serve any purpose whatsoever.
Now what Daz may be looking at here is to play this yellow deliberately down onto the 2 reds and to pot the yellow over the pocket.
Foul, 2 visits.
Then that's a great shot. He's actually giving himself a lifeline here. That's a great shot from Nigel.
He's got a big pocket down the left cushion here. Well, he's hit it too good. Intended the in-off off the red to clear the pocket, I'm sure.
And although Jimmy's still got his 2 shots, we come back to that one bad yellow he had earlier, which is up the table, and it still is his bad yellow.
Second visit.
Well, Keith, if he elects to take this yellow and knocks this in, it's advantage Nigel Davis. That was the big shot. Loads of pressure on that one. Daz having a quick look to see if the black is available to the bottom right. Looks very close.
Well, that's great control. Has he come a little bit straight on this red?
Well, one thing about it, Keith, he bumped that yellow out of the way, so guaranteed the black will pass now. If he's got any angle at all here. Daz Ward takes his first frame of this quarterfinal. An important one it was. He still trails Nigel Davis by 2 frames to 1. 1995 World Pool champion. Looking to get back into the winner's circle. Daz Ward breaking off here in the 4th frame.
Foul, 1 visit, open 2.
Not very lucky, but you don't need to tell him that.
Well, you have to say, Jim, this is quite an incredible in-off the break, isn't it?
Normal risk.
So the number 6 seed, Nigel Davis, electing the reds.
Red ball's in play.
No obvious hurdles for Nigel right now. Just a couple good positional shots. Obviously the one awkward red. I don't know whether he can get to it right now, but it's the one just on the left side here. Well, that was a horrible shot. Looked as though the red passed to the top left, Keith. I thought all he'd do is just come off the cushion and drop onto it.
Yeah, I have to say there, Jim, that I think his shot selection was wrong. I can only imagine he was trying to come to the right middle and just got hold of it completely wrong.
Foul, 2 visits.
Well, that could be instrumental now in Daz Ward. Pulling back on level terms. He's got 2 visits, and Nigel Davis has to feel like he let one slip away there.
Yellow ball's playing.
I'm sure disgusted as he left the table.
Well, this is as basic as they come. 2 visits, and then for yellow just sitting.
Bear in mind, he's still got that second visit in hand. Though the way these yellows are situated, he might well not need it. The 27-year-old from Sheffield. Doing his best to become the first man to have 2 Embassy World titles to his credit. And this simple 8-ball down it goes. Nigel Davis took the opening 2 frames. Daz Ward has fought back, taking the next 2. It's 2 frames apiece now in this best of 17 quarterfinal. Well, this was the mighty flail once he had lost position on that open red. I'm sure that once that cue ball went into the pocket, Nigel Davis knew that he wasn't going to get another visit. Well, Daz, I'm sure, has to feel lucky to be even in this quarterfinal. He could well have been out. Compliments of Frederick Ballois.
Foul, 2 visits.
And I'll tell you what, Jim, he's played it well. He's not left it so he can play the red inside the black and the yellow. It's been very clever how he's played it.
Second visit.
Nigel does have a couple of options here, but he still has to be very careful what shot he chooses to play. One of the options he has is to play the red onto the yellow and try and leave the red over the pocket, but I would say that's too dangerous to play. Well, really, Jim, that's a nothing shot. He needs to try and push the reds back out into play, and he hasn't there. Be interested to see what Daz does. What you might do is just to elect to pot one of these reds and leave the cue ball in a position where Nigel won't benefit from it. And I think that's what we're going to see, Jim. Yeah.
Foul, 2 visits.
Well, Daz Ward has had anything but an easy passage. As I was about to say, Frederick Balois missed the simplest of balls to eliminate him. Daz Ward ended up winning 8-7.
Second visit.
Well, I don't know what to make of that shot. The problem he has here is if he can't get these reds out into the table, all Daz is going to do is start to pot the open reds. And looking at the situation, I don't think he can play that red next to the black without causing a foul. And if that is the case, what Daz has done there is just tried to push the red onto the yellow so it is virtually touching ball, and that means that should Nigel try to develop that red, obviously he's going to knock the yellow in.
No foul. Second visit. So look now. Second visit. Apologies. Sorry. Looking at that yellow.
This is somewhat of a stalemate position, really.
Well, the reason Nigel's actually played that shot, he's trying to stop Daz potting the reds. So he's trying to leave him Chinese on top of that red. So Daz is going to try and pot this one down the table.
Foul, 2 visits.
Now the problem is, Jim, there's nothing that Nigel can do.
Second visit.
Seconds.
Now I think all we'll see Daz do is pot one of the reds. He's just going to have a look, make sure that there's no way that he can develop this bad red.
Foul, 2 visits.
Well, obviously the problem area down in this corner. Everything bunched up there.
Foul, 2 visits.
Bad shot there. Sounded like a miscue there, Jim. Of course, well, we're going to have a 3-ball situation now. So all we're going to see Daz do is elect the red next to the yellow, pop the yellow.
Red ball nominated.
And then, of course, pop the black to win the game. A little bit unlucky there for the black to go slightly safe, but still got 2 shots.
Second visit.
Well, Des Ward, in the end, saw his way clear. He now leads Nigel Davis by 3 frames to 2.
Welcome back to Sky Sports. We're at the quarter-final stages here in Manchester. We've already had some superb action. Let's get back to it now with your commentator, Jim Weish.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan.
Frame 6.
Certainly, Daz Ward has to be feeling a lot better about proceedings right now. He's breaking off in frame 6. He's won the last 3 frames on the trot. And the man from Sheffield
Open table.
is in control. It has to be said, Keith Brewer, there's been a number of errors on both sides of the fence.
Yellow ball's in play.
Yes, there has, Jim, and they're not just basic errors. I mean, they've been horrific errors, haven't they, really? Some of the positional shots we've seen placed, particularly from Nigel.
A scowl at the cue ball for coming so close. Tantalizingly close to going in off. Very good putt that time. That might well have paved the way for Nigel Davis to stop the rot.
Well, once again, Jim, he's cleared up, played very well, perfect position, and you wouldn't expect him to miss from here. It's just a matter of just controlling the cue ball now.
Both yellow balls nicely open. Wants to make sure he leaves himself the proper angle on the last yellow to drop nicely onto the black, Keith.
Yeah, the problem is there, Jim, he's actually come slightly the wrong side of this one. And he's not perfectly straight on this. He should be okay, but there's always a chance it can go wrong when you're cannoning a ball like this. And there you go. One of the first rules of playing pool, Jim, if you don't have to cannon a ball, don't.
Ball, 2 visits.
Well, that's the second time the in-off for Nigel Davis. The first one was very costly, and you've just got a feeling that this one is going to be equally as painful. That cue ball flew into the middle pocket.
Just has to be said, Jim, it's just careless play. He's done all the hard work. He's potted like 5 or 6 balls, perfect position. Then he plays one slightly loose shot, and it's cost him possibly 3 frames now. One slightly loose shot in each frame. And for all the people that play pool at home, it just goes to show, I'm sure they're all well aware, that you've just got to have that cue ball in a perfect control all the time.
Well, if Daz Ward was struggling coming in, Nigel Davis has given him reason to feel pretty good. And there's the most interested spectator in the house, Rob McKenna. He will be opposing the winner of this quarterfinal.
think he'll be quite pleased with what he's seen, to be honest, Jim. Because if they make these kind of mistakes against him, they won't be getting a second bite.
Well, if it does turn out to be the man at the table, Daz Ward, it'll be a semi-final of former world champions. And what a prospect that is.
Second visit.
Second visit in play. Daz, an anxious look down to make sure that that ball didn't go too far from the corner pocket. And again, a simple 8-ball to secure the victory. So it's Daz Ward now 4 games on the spin. He leads Nigel Davis of Wales 4 frames to 2. It's all one-way traffic, Keith, and it's heading towards Sheffield.
Yeah, but Nigel basically is digging his own hole at the moment. He's made some horrific mistakes in at least 3 frames so far, and just put them on a plate for Daz.
Yes, case in point right here. Totally misjudged that. No excuse for a play like that, and I'm sure you don't have to tell Nigel Davis that. And Daz wasn't too bothered when he didn't see this drop, as long as it was near enough the corner pocket where he could use his second visit.
Frame 7, Nigel Davis to break, trailing 4 frames to 2.
And now, very important for Nigel Davis to re-establish himself.
Red on yellow potted.
Nigel through to this quarterfinal by virtue of an 8-6 victory over the young up-and-comer Darren Appleton.
And it has to be said, Jim, that was a great victory as well over Darren. For people that haven't met Darren before, he is kind of one of the young and up-and-coming players at the moment, and I'm sure you'll be seeing him very soon on your TV screens. He is probably like the one that looks like he's going to come through and do something.
This is the sort of play that Nigel Davis produced early in this match. He won the opening 2 frames, and since then, it's been a comedy of errors in missed positional play, failed pots, a streak of 4 frames that Nigel would just as soon forget.
Well, he's gone array again, hasn't he, Jim? Another couple of inches, he's perfect on the top yellow. If he was short by a couple of inches, he'd have the one in the middle. And he's just in the middle of them both. So it looks like he may come up and down the table here. Well, he's left himself a toughie.
Best pot of the match so far, certainly under the circumstances, and just look at where the cue ball is finished, plumb behind the 8. A much-needed victory there for Nigel Davis. I'm sure a sigh of relief as he heads back to his chair. He's stopped the rot. It's Daz Ward 4, Nigel Davis 3. A good, powerful break from the Welshman. He saw a couple of colors weave their way into the pockets. and set the table for what proved to be a winning clearance.
No, he badly needed that, didn't he? And he's took out a great finish at the end. He's potted some good balls at the end and got great position on the black.
Frame 8, Daz to break, leading 4 frames to
So
3.
it's Daz Ward leading 4 frames to 3, breaking off in frame 8.
Open 7.
Well, Nigel with an open table. Very messy on the left-hand side.
Yeah, there's no easy finish here.
Red ball's in play.
It's amazing how a good win starts to bolster the confidence. Cued that very nicely.
And I think that's a wise shot there,
Yellow
Jim.
ball's playing.
Because if he'd have carried on going game, he'd have been making it up as he went along, I think. And he's played a sensible shot, secured the pocket. With this situation, Daz has to make his mind up exactly what he's going to do. He hasn't got to finish on, so he's got to play a tactical shot somewhere along the line. He may just roll the red over the pocket. He may just develop this one near this pocket.
No.
30 seconds remaining.
I think what Daz is going to do is actually going to try and get this yellow inside the red. He's not got a lot of room to play with. Yeah, that's not too bad. Sure, we'll see Nigel just cover the pocket with the red now. Well, I couldn't understand that shot, Jim, really, because he's leaving Daz the opportunity to cover the pocket with the yellow. Just couldn't understand the shot, Jim. He's just giving him territorial advantage, really. And this is where we were saying before, Jim, that probably Daz is the slightly better tactical player. I think Nigel has definitely played the wrong shot there. Looks like we're going to see a tactical foul.
Foul, 2 visits.
He may have left a 3 ball here. Daz is just having a look. Obviously not. So it may be he's going to try and develop all these 3 yellows in one shot in the cluster.
$30 seconds.
Daz Ward was recently in Dubai playing some pool there. Absolutely loved it. Had a great time. He's one of the UK's top players and a fine ambassador for the game.
Second visit.
I'm just wondering, Jim, whether this yellow in the cluster goes into the right-hand corner. I don't think Daz has even had a look. And I'll tell you what, Jim, it isn't far away. If he just rolls the red down the rail, I'm sure he would have been on it. I don't think Daz is even looking to this shot. course, by playing that shot gives Daz the tactical advantage. Nigel's got 4 reds over towards the bottom left-hand corner.
Time out.
Our referee Mike Reagan just passing the rest to Nigel Davis.
30 seconds.
And there's our timekeeper, South African Anton de Beer.
Foul, 2 visits.
There you see a stopwatch. He'll give a 30-second warning, and these players have to play their shots within that 1-minute time constraint.
It's an interesting shot there by Nigel. He's realised that Daz has got the tactical advantage, so he's decided to play the tactical foul, leaving the red over the pocket at the same time. Although he's giving Daz 2 visits, he knows he's got to develop both the yellow and the black into play.
Foul, 2 visits.
And that's what we saw Darren trying to do there.
Well, it just amazes me in this game how it swings in a pendulum motion. One careless shot from either player, and it just seems to go backward and forward. Now the advantage firmly with Nigel Davis. He's got 2 visits. He's just developed that little cluster that was in the center of the table. And if he should double this red in, he's going to be home and dry, but he's got to be big favorite even if he doesn't get it, Keith.
Yeah, he has. He has got a couple of options here. First of all, he could try the cut in the middle, but he's not sure where he's knocking the other ball. So he may just knock this into play, which is what he's elected to do. Confident in the fact, of course, that he's going to clear up from here now.
Well, myself, I'd have wanted to bring that red a little further into the table. This isn't straightforward. We've seen a lot of balls missed into this left center.
Poor shot selection. Basically, when he's developed the first red, he hasn't left himself good position after that. He was bridging over awkward, and he had to try and develop the cue ball into play. And there you can see what's happened. Another bad mistake from Nigel. That's about 4 or 5 I think we've seen so far, Jim.
The biggest tournament in the world. Obviously, with it goes the most pressure.
30
And
seconds.
whichever one of these players learns to handle that the best. Well, Keith, I'm glancing over and you're shaking your head. You're watching this.
It's a nothing shot, isn't it? He hasn't even made his mind up what he's going to do there. I mean, what was that? I just couldn't understand the shot.
Well, I'm sure Nigel Davis can hardly believe that he gets back to the table as quickly as he did. And he's going to have to play this black into the center pocket. He's got a nice angle on the red to just come off the bottom cushion and drop behind it.
Well, I'll tell you now, Jimmy could have played it better, but you've got to say you expect him to pot it.
It's there. And Welshman Nigel Davis has drawn level with Daz Ward. It's now 4 frames apiece in this best of 17 affair.
Frame 9, Nigel Davis to break. 4 frames all.
Nigel Davis, the world number 6 against Daz Ward, seeded number 2 in this event, finally poised at 4 frames apiece. In this first player to 9 frames for
Open
a berth
table.
in the semifinals and a date with Rob McKenna. Daz noticed something on one of the reds. So he's just having our referee Mike Regan clean it. And that effectively means there's a timeout called, a referee's timeout. We may even have to replace that one, Mike. Back to action now, and Daz Ward with an open table. He can choose either reds or yellows. And Daz has lost the last 2 frames to be pegged back.
$30.
Red ball's in play.
To say the play has been scrappy would probably be an understatement. It seems like at times neither player wanted to see the winning post. But these are the type of matches you just have to survive to live on to play another day.
Yellow ball's play.
What he was trying to do there obviously was play off the yellow and try and develop the other reds at the same time. Of course he went completely in the middle. And the only thing he's managed to do is just leave all the yellows on. Good tactical shot, because what he's actually done is brought the yellow off the rail, making the finish easier when he eventually goes for it. At the same time, hasn't really left Daz any shots. What a great effort that was, Jim.
He certainly went for his shot there. Can't be faulted for lack of conviction, but regardless, it looks like he's left Nigel Davis half a chance here. Far from easy.
The one good thing that happened there actually is push the yellow onto the top rail, push the other yellow onto a side rail. Now, where previously in the match there, Jim, we would see Nigel go game nearly every time, and there he's elected not to. It's very interesting. I think probably both players are conscious of the fact that it's 4-all, and it's going to be very nice to go 5-4 up, and they're both going to try and not make the mistakes that they have been making.
Well, Nigel, once again in a strong position. His yellows certainly look to be the favored ball. Well, I wonder if he's going to try and win the game here, Keith.
Well, it was a funny shot really there that Daz played, because all he ended up doing was pushing this yellow up to the pocket and left the cue ball perfectly on the one on the side rail. So yeah, I think we'll see him have a little go at this.
Time out.
Well, the one thing you can rest assured of, if this yellow doesn't drop, Nigel would like it dangling over the jaws of the pocket. Just about like that. Once again, he won't mind that too much. Would rather have seen it drop, I think, but still in a strong position.
You know, funny enough, Jim, sometimes when you're in positions like this, the only thing to do is like have an attack and have a go. And that might be what we see Daz do here.
Well, certainly he's developed the reds somewhat on the left side of the table near that left middle. Red available now into the center.
His decision is now, really, does he continue to go game, or does he just get this bad ball into play? It looks like he's going to continue and have a bash at this one. Hasn't got the desired position. I think he wanted the cue ball onto the side rail, so when he potted the red into the left-hand middle pocket, he could actually move the yellow out the way, bringing the red into play, and then he would look to go up table for the last red.
30 seconds.
However, he can still manage to do that. It looks like he would have to pinch the pocket a little bit, but I'm sure that's what he's got in his mind. It looks like we're going plan B now, Jim. Red into the top right-hand pocket as we look. Very interesting shot there from Daz.
Foul, 2 visits.
He's actually played the ball and jumped the white over to get position on the last red. Very unlucky shot.
A very skillful shot that didn't turn out. You could see that cue ball vaulting over the yellow after potting the red. That would have been the shot of the match thus far. Unluckily for Daz Ward, the cue ball found its way to a pocket, so Nigel Davis in now with 2 visits, and the yellows begging. Well, Daz Ward hasn't trailed in this match since the opening couple of frames. But now he looks like he's going to drop his 3rd in a row.
Second visit.
Second visit in play, the simple black. Down it goes, and Nigel Davis continues on. He now leads Daz Ward by 5 frames to 4 in this best of 17 quarterfinal. Well, we saw a bit of an exhibition shot. Just watch the cue ball over the yellow. That was the only way he could get towards that red. And he had to be considered very unlucky for that cue ball to contact it and go in off. That sealed his fate.
Frame 10. Daz Ward to break.
So the
5 frames to
1995 world champion Daz Ward breaking off here.
4. Yellow ball potted.
He trails Nigel Davis by the odd frame. He's got to start finding his legs to show the type of form that he is capable of.
He's got a fantastic break here as well, Jim. No matter what suit he takes, they're both there, but 1 or 2 awkward balls. Deciding to go reds.
Red ball's in play.
And of course he's only got 1 awkward red. I think what we'll actually see here is Daz clear up and leave the red near the black till last. And the simple reason for that is obviously the cue ball will be down there for the black as well. So what he's got to do now is work out which ball to take last at the top end of the table to come down for position on this red. Very important now to leave the right angle on this red. It has to be said, Jim, that looks just about spot on.
Just wants to stun over the right-hand side of the table now to leave the red to the bottom left.
Well, he's on the red, Jim, but he's overrun it just slightly. It may be possible for him to cannon into the black as he plays the red and hold position, but not guaranteed to have an easy black.
Well, I would say if you look in the dictionary under a difficult black, this is the picture you're going to see. Tremendous dead into the center of the pocket. And welcome back here to center stage in Manchester for the 1997 Embassy Whirlpool Championships. Effectively reduced now to a best of 7. At 5-all, the next player to put 4 frames
Yellow
together
on that,
will proceed to the semifinals. And Nigel Davis putting the brake shaft away and his playing shaft back onto his cue now. Open
Yellow
table.
ball's in play.
An enviable position for him. Funny there, Keith. He got a little bit hesitant and reluctant to go for the game in the last frame, and it ended up coming back to haunt him.
Yeah, that's right. But he did get a very good break this time.
Red ball's playing.
Possibly because he was Chinese there, hampered by the red, elected to cover the pocket. Has to be said though, Jim, not what we're used to seeing from Nigel. He has calmed himself down a little bit here. Good shot from Daz. Replied well, covering the opposite pocket.
Nigel Davis manages a snooker club. So you know that if he's putting any time in on the snooker tables, his long game should be spot on.
But what Nigel's trying to do now is force Daz's hand a little bit. Brought the bad ball out into play. Now Daz has only really got one bad red, and that's the one situated by the yellow. Bottom right hand corner pocket as we look. And that's a great shot. Having said that, I'm pretty sure we'll see Nigel just nudge the white up to the red. No benefit really in trying to get out of this snooker.
Total snooker.
The way you've got to look at it is from Daz's point of view, he wants him to have a go, because the only way Daz can win at the moment is by gaining the 2 visits. So what Nigel should do is just touch up like this.
Foul, 2 visits.
And he's leaving no shot, so there's no way he can carry the 2 shots forward after playing the first stroke.
Second visit.
When Daz Ward went on to win the 1995 championship, it was a sparkling display. A potting machine. There weren't many that he attempted that he missed. But I've got a feeling that whichever player is to come out of this quarterfinal and face Rob McKenna in the semis, they're going to have to lift their game somewhat.
Interesting shot here, Jim. He's going to take the double on. What makes the double easier here, of course, is that the red is already over the pocket, so he has a 3 or 4 inch banker there that he can use. He knows if he hits the cushion first, he'll still pot the red, and the other 2 reds are well placed. Good attacking shot, this.
Played very well indeed. And that was the major hurdle for Daz Ward to clear. Well, that's not the worst positional shot Daz Ward will ever play, but it might well be top 10.
But it certainly was careless once again, Jim, wasn't it? After playing so many good shots to get in this position. And he's got to be very careful what he does from here. His girlfriend isn't very happy about it, voicing her opinion with some of the spectators.
50 seconds.
And as remember in previous years, Jim, Joanne isn't the quietest girl in the crowd.
Yes, very animated indeed, I do remember. You'll see a little emotion from her if Daz is to get through in this one.
I think we're going to see Daz try the red off the yellow into the middle pocket, and he can stun across for the black in the corner. Another exhibition shot coming up now. You can see him lining it up. The red off the yellow into the left hand middle pocket, and try and keep control of the cue ball at the same time. Very unlucky there, Jim.
Just left himself too much to do. Well, I think she not feeling too good about the way that her man's performing out there. It's still a long ways to go. Even here, Keith, he seems to have taken the overland route Had he shot the other yellow previous, it would have been so much simpler, but should still get home. This is the real crunch ball. He's got to keep perfectly still. Right into the heart of the pocket. Nigel Davis. He didn't want Daz Ward to have anything to build on. He's one frame in front at 6-5. And it all boiled down to positional play. And this shot from Daz Ward couldn't really have turned out any worse. Real look of disgust. And Daz Ward breaking off frame 12. He's trailing 6 frames to 5 right
Red
now.
and yellow potted.
Well, Jim, that's a great break. He's potted a red on a yellow, but it's obviously going to be reds. Very well placed for him.
Red ball's in play.
Much more confident shot from Daz Ward there. When he's at his best, he's attacking. If he starts to get tentative, he does seem to labor. There's nothing stopping him from clearing up and running out the game here.
Hasn't done anything wrong, Jim, has he? He's played every shot perfect.
Just like the textbook said, the Dazzler, living up to his namesake, takes that frame and in convincing style, he's leveled accounts now at 6 frames apiece in this race to 9. And the folks are happy about that performance. They want to see 3 more like that. And this was the break that manufactured that win. Nigel Davis breaks off the 13th frame. And the pressure really starting to mount out there. No more room for error from either player. We're winding down to the finish line. Check your nerves at the door. This is all about character.
Yellow ball's playing.
Nigel had a finish on there. Had he gotten that one down the cushion, he might have repaid Daz Ward's breaking out in kind.
unlucky there, Jim. He was actually trying to leave that one over the pocket. And I'll tell you what, if he'd have done so, it would have been in command. Been 2 reds there that would have been totally dead. Just played it gently off the ball, and very unlucky for it to drop. Having said that, he can still carry on going for the finish. But there's 1 or 2 awkward yellers. May see him play the yellow over the pocket. He has that option, the bottom right hand pocket as we look.
Well, every yellow on the table looks available. It's just a matter of keeping your head down. A couple of them are going to be down the cushions. But Daz, a terrific potter.
$30.
That was a great shot. Perfect angle on this yellow to take the cue ball up the top end of the table as we look. But important, Keith, that he leaves himself an angle on that last yellow. If he's to get that cue ball back down for the black, he's going to need plenty of angle on the yellow. But the first order of business is to make the pot.
Yes, Jim, just clearly a case really of took his eye off the pot and made sure he had the cue ball where he wanted it, and he has actually got this cue ball perfect as well.
Yes, it was divided attention. And now Nigel Davis might well make him remember it. This is really a formality, this finish. It's starting to flow a bit, Keith. 1 mistake frames. The play has noticeably improved. Seven-6 to the man from Worcester, Nigel Davis, now just 2 frames away from a semi-final berth in the 1997 Embassy Whirlpool Championships. And this was the good yellow that Daz knocked in. It really should have laid the foundation for him to go ahead and take the frame. He had the perfect angle on the yellow, but in the end it was Nigel Davis running out. And now in front, 7 frames to 6.
Frame 14, Daz Ward to break, trailing 7 frames to 6.
And Daz Ward desperately needing a good break, and that's
Foul,
not the order of the day.
Open table.
Trailing 7-6, that's the last thing he wanted to do. Any other time it would be 2 visits to the incoming player, but not off the break. Time to gather your composure and mount your concentration. Got to hold it together for a few more frames.
30 seconds.
Red ball's in play.
Well, having taken reds, Jim, he's only got the one awkward red, which is the one situated near the black. If he has the angle, he could try and develop that one now. Which he's managed to do.
Very useful shot. And I think he has to take the red to the top right if he wants to try and go game here. Well, that was well off the intended position. He had lots of room for error there. He just dug into the cue ball a lot more than intended. But a sound recovery. And now once again, he's done all the hard work. Just a matter of picking up the pieces now, Keith.
Yes, but there's been about 4 or 5 other frames where he did all the hard work, Jim. He knows he has to concentrate completely on the rest of the finish here. It looks to me the most awkward problem he's going to have is actually potting the last red. He's getting good position on the black. I would say, looking at the situation now, we'd probably see him take the black into the right-hand middle pocket.
Well, it looks like now his only choice is going to be to cannon the yellow out of the way and leave the black to the same pocket as the red. Always got to be careful, Keith. You alluded to this. These are always risky. This is a great performance from Nigel. It's there. And Nigel Davis is inching ever closer to the finish line. He wants just one more frame now. He's 8-6 in front of Daz Ward in the race to 9.
Leading 8 frames to 6.
The elusive last frame. The one that may elude Nigel Davis. He wants just one more, leading 8-6 over Daz Ward.
Open table.
Well, Jim, if there's one thing he didn't want to do on that break, was make a foul.
Careless. Never contacted a ball, went straight into the middle.
Remembering that Daz has only got one visit here, the only saviour that Nigel's got is we've got this little cluster near the black on the left-hand side of the table.
Yellow ball's in play.
One of the things I have noticed about Daz's plays over the years is when he is in these tight spots and his back's against the wall, he doesn't tend to go for stupid finishes. He's quite happy to sit back and play a tactical frame. And I'm just wondering if that's what he's going to do. Now, this yellow over the top left-hand pocket, once he removes it, it opens up the rest of the table for the reds. There's 2 reds near the cue ball at the moment, which aren't particularly well placed.
50 seconds.
That should, of course, he pot this yellow, he opens it all up. And now it's a big decision for him. Hence, Jim, there you go, covering the pocket.
Very difficult bridging there. Had to be careful not to foul.
Well, what Nigel's basically done is removed the 2 offending reds. So now the ball that's over the pocket isn't really doing much. He's trying to put as much pressure on Daz as he can.
Time out.
Well, Keith, those yellows that you alluded to, right there, those are the problem balls for Daz.
Seconds.
Looks like he's going to try and develop them as well with this shot. Unfortunately, he's missed all of them.
Annis Ward, I'm sure, seeing her son with his back against the wall. Two down with
That's
3 to
a great
play.
shot.
And that's a useful shot.
Great shot, Jim. He couldn't really carry on attacking because he had the 2 yellows that were tied up. It would have been suicide to carry on, but what a great shot he's played there to cover the pocket, forcing Nigel to bring this red into play. As I was saying before, Jim, sometimes it's like a game of chess. You move one piece to force your opponent to move the other. Again, now we'll probably see Daz just put this one over the corner pocket.
Didn't intend tying up that other red, I'm sure.
No, Jim, all he was doing was obviously moving the 2 reds away from each other to make the finish easier, and he's gone and tied up the other 2. And that's good for Daz, because it gives him the chance now to develop these 2 yellows. These shots now are very crucial.
30 seconds.
Well, that's a good shot, Jim. Developed the black, both of the yellows, and put the red safe as well. And as I was saying before, Jim, sometimes from Nigel's point of view, when you're in a situation like this, there isn't much defending you can do. Sometimes you've just got to attack, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Nigel pot this red and screw over for the 2 bad reds. That's exactly what he's tried to do. Could have done with another couple of inches there. However, he could pop the first red and try and cannon the other red into play.
Foul, 2 visits.
Well, he's bumped in the other yellow, and that's 2 visits for Daz Ward.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, what a careless shot this is. And the thing is, this is exactly what Daz needed. Now he's got an easy finish with 2 visits.
But he might want to save those 2 visits for the black, just in case he can't get right behind it.
30 seconds.
And that's pretty good, Jim. It's just a little stun, and he's going to have automatic position on the last yellow. And he can carry his 2 forward to the black. Very important where he leaves the cue ball after this shot. Remembering he has got 2 shots, and the black is very tight into the centre pocket. So what he might be doing is to leave the white in such a way that he can actually bump the black into play. Actually, he's played that so well, Jim. He can actually just roll it towards the middle, and should he miss, he's automatically going to be on it for his second shot.
Didn't need the second visit. Daz Ward staves off elimination. He trails 8-7 to Nigel Davis of Wales. So Nigel Davis, a little bit of carelessness here when he bumped in that yellow unintentionally, giving the 2 visits away to Daz Ward. Great opening pot from Nigel Davis. And look at Daz Ward. I think he knows, Keith. He's given Davis half a chance here, and he didn't want to open the door.
With all due respect, Jimmy didn't really have to play the free wall plant that he played. He could have just potted the one over the pocket, knowing that the other yellows would have actually been hidden by the red that remained there. I know it's alright saying it with hindsight, but maybe not quite the right shot. I think he was right to pocket the yellow. I think he had to do that at that time. Now we can only hope that Nigel doesn't make the finish.
30 seconds.
I don't know whether he'll be making the finish from here.
The problem is here, he's got to play the 2-ball plant, and of course the second yellow, the first one that he'll make contact with, could go safe. So we may just see him try and put it over the pocket. Well, what a rash shot, Jim, and that could cost him dearly.
Well, Nigel Davis on the brink of victory. Another look at it. He tried to force the plant in behind that red, unsuccessfully.
Definitely a rush of blood there, Jim. You know, the plant wasn't on perfect, that's why he missed the pot. All he had to do was play ball onto ball. If he could sit the first yellow over the pocket, he would have been odds-on favourite for the frame. Great shot from Daz. The nice thing from Daz here, Jim, is he realises he shouldn't have got this chance. So he feels good at the table now, you can tell. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him take these out.
Time out.
He's got to roll this red down the cushion with the rest. Just going to take one good positional shot, Keith, onto the last red.
And I'm not sure, Jim, but it looks like he's on the wrong side of the red. He's actually rolled it in, and he's tried to keep the cue ball as slow as possible so it wouldn't go too far, and he's actually held it too much. He's actually on the wrong side. Decided against the forcing shot. Could have played it with a lot of top right and come through, but decided no. And this is a massive shot now, Jim, for him. He's got the pot and get good position.
You'll be happy with that. That white a little closer to the side cushion than Daz would have been comfortable with. He should still get this though, Keith, but there's loads of pressure out there. Well, like I said, Nothing except the pressure of the situation. And right now, her heart is on her sleeve. Certainly Daz Ward's is. Is this going to be Daz's last visit to the table?
$30.
Not sure which way to go. Basically now, Jim, one good positional shot and he's won the match.
And that's not it. The seesaw battle continues.
It's unbelievable stuff, Jim, isn't it? Forced into playing a snooker here. Remembering that the cue ball must touch the cushion after contact.
Well, there's only one thing for Daz to do now. The top cushion and down for the red.
Foul, 2 visits.
Well, obviously, you elected against that, Keith. It looked like with the red so close to the pocket that it might have been worth the go.
Well, I think the reason he didn't, Jim, is if you look at the red, it's actually on the side of the pocket. The interesting thing is, he's pushed the red over, and does the red pass?
Second visit.
Does the yellow pass the red? It's tight, but I think it might. I don't believe what I'm seeing, Jim. He only had to roll the ball in. He's rolled it in for some reason, decided to put a lot of side on it, and has got no position whatsoever. The only thing in his favour there, Jim, is actually push the red out onto the rail a little bit, so he can play a safety shot. But I have to say, once again, very careless.
Well, he's really got to be careful here, stretching over the table. If he elects to try and play the snooker behind the yellow, doesn't want this to go wrong, Keith. I think that was a rush of blood.
Well, has to be said, Jim. Couldn't understand the shot. Surely the snooker was the shot, just a little snooker, and Daz would have been in all sorts of trouble. Now he's left him a little snick into the bottom pocket, and he's got it. Played it with safety in mind there, Jim, have you noticed? Got the cue ball back up the table. Should the red have rattled in the pocket, Nigel would have had no shot. Well, how would you like this black to take it to a decider, Jim?
Where's the black?
It's close. It's very close.
It's in. Unbelievable, Daz Ward. 4 cushions to the corner pocket, just like the book said. And we are going to a 1-frame decider. 8 frames apiece in this best of 17 quarterfinal. It's down to 1 frame, winner take all.
17th and final frame. Nigel Davis to break. 8 frames all.
So Nigel Davis breaks off the number 6 seed in the 17th and deciding frame. Hold your breath for this one.
Red ball potted.
They'll be taking no prisoners here, Keith.
I don't think I've ever seen so many balls go to the top end of the table on a break. Nearly all of them have gone up there. He must have given that one just a little extra bit. It's one of them situations.
30 seconds.
Both groups have split very well. There's probably one bad ball in
Yellow
each
ball's
suit.
nominated. Yellow ball's in play.
Obviously the yellow at the top of the table as we look. Just next to the red is the awkward yellow for Nigel Davis. But not anymore.
Red ball's playing.
Well, that was an excellent shot. He's developed both the yellows in the one shot. The one on the rail, clipped off it and brought the other one into play, leaving Daz no shot whatsoever. And what Daz has tried to do there, Jim, is just clip off the red very thin and just try and make sure that Nigel couldn't pot the yellow. And we can't tell from here whether it will go. But what it does is give Daz a little bit of breathing space.
The long red leaves another one on. I wonder if he's considering taking the cue ball over towards the awkward red, develop it, and try and run out the game now.
Definitely is, Jim. You can tell he's having a good look now. He's thinking, well, this might be my one and only chance. Because if he doesn't, Nigel has the same option on yellows.
Well, if he's going to go down, he's going to go down in flames.
30 seconds.
That's unbelievable, Jim. He's made a total hash of the shot, yet he's come out very well. I don't think Nigel can quite believe it. And not only that, the two reds that are bunched together, I think they plant off the yellow in the corner. Just trying to play a containing shot.
Daz certainly aware of that plant now, Keith. That's what he's looking at. In off the yellow.
30 seconds.
Well, in fact, you could see the other red to the top right.
Wasn't it a great shot, Jim? Brave. And look how the reds have come out for him as well.
Well, there was a smattering of applause there, and that one deserved a lot better. Another look at it. A great shot. It looks like he's landed on a red. Well, Keith, the cat and mouse game continues.
It's just like I said before, Jim, isn't it? Since Daz has had his back to the wall at 8-6 down, he has tended to go for the tactical advantage whenever he's had the opportunity. A lot of players there would have just gone game. But Daz has held on. Really, Nigel hasn't got a lot of options.
Doesn't want this to go in.
Well, that's two attempts at the pocket. still failed to cover it.
Another look at the double. As I said, he'd love that one to have hung around right over the pocket, but no such luck. He's bumped the other yellow down toward the reds.
Another good tactical shot, Jim. Covering the pocket. Nigel needs it for these two yellows that are close together. Has to bring them into play. Okay, what Daz needs to do now is to bring this bad red into play. Bottom right hand corner pocket. He's snooking on it at the moment. He may elect to pot this ball, then again he may elect not to. It's one of them situations, Paul, sometimes, Jim, that you don't really want to pot all of your reds or your yellows unless you have to. And with it being the deciding frame, Daz could have easily there have just potted the red and brought that last red into play. He's decided not to. Little bit tentative from both players, I think, at this moment. Then knowing that one mistake or one loose shot from now means the whole match is gone, not just the frame.
30 seconds.
Foul, 2 visits.
Interesting shot. Totally played for, Jim. If you look at the 3 reds, Darren can't do nothing. He could return the compliment, you know, and just roll this yellow in over the corner pocket. In fact, it wouldn't be such a bad shot.
Second visit.
This time I think we'll see him develop the bad red. That puts the pressure back on Nigel.
A monumental struggle this has been. It seemed at a couple stages of this quarterfinal against Nigel Davis and Daz Ward that either one of them had their turn to race away, but it just wasn't to be. Never more than 2 frames in it either way.
Options here for Daz, Jim. Could play up table off the red, try and move the yellow away.
Keith, there have been so many twists and turns in the tail in this match. How can we expect a clear-cut finish?
Daz does have the option actually to play this red up to the corner pocket where the red and yellow are.
30 seconds.
And he is doing. Oh no. Well, he's played to pot it. It hasn't quite worked out for him. I think, Jim, with hindsight there, I think it was the right shot, but he should have played it a lot slower, just to bump the yellow out a little bit.
Well, big opportunity after that pot. Nigel Davis, one good positional shot onto one of the two yellows. And surely now Nigel Davis can put the lid on this one.
Come on.
This black, Nigel Davis, will be joining his countryman Rob McKenna. There it is! And you don't see much emotion from Nigel Davis, but I can tell you, he now meets Rob McKenna in the second semi-final. He's a 9-8 winner over Daz Ward of England.
Well, Nigel, what a nail biter. Take us through those last two frames, particularly from that black. Do you think it was all over in the penultimate one?
No, the frame before worried me, where he fluked it off about 17 cushions, like. But, yeah, I thought it was done for the last frame. Especially when he had the ball over the pocket, and it was just a bit of bad luck Daz went from and knocked my ball clear.
Have to say, throughout the match, you did make it hard on yourself.
Yes. I think I was going to say I didn't get a bit of run, and I played a couple of 3 bad shots and run out of position quite a few times.
Another Welshman in the semi-final.
Yep, means a Welshman in the final. That's all that matters.
Is it going to be you?
Hopefully.
A lot of pressure in this tournament. Are you feeling it?
I wasn't at the start, but I was that last frame.
Well done, you're in the semi-finals, and who knows, as you said, a Welshman is going to be in the final. Well, no question about it, there will be a Welshman in the final. That ends the quarter-finals. Semi-finals looks as though it's going to be cracking. That's all from Manchester, from everybody here. Good night, until next time.